And we're back. Another episode of the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. It's a snack pack, everyone. Get your munchies in. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here for the Lakers Fast Break Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts and on radio stations worldwide. On this week's Pop Culture Cosmos, well, Josh had a little bit of technical difficulty because the rainstorms in Texas knocked out his internet. So TJ Johnson came running to the rescue to share his thoughts on the PlayStation 5 Pro. We give you an Emmys update on who was winning live while we were recording, and also tell you where you can go to get the whole entire list. And we talk about GameStop going retro again, and also has TKO's purchase of WWE 1 year in been a good thing? So we talk about that and a great hour of conversation right there for you on pop culture at Pop Culture Cosmos. Also as well, Joe and I and Chris Sardieri and hopefully Dom Lardieri will be back this week for another Inside Sports Fantasy Football. So go ahead and check that out, and hopefully your fantasy football team did well over the course of the weekend. I know Joe's real football team, the Steelers, eked out another win this past weekend. They're not getting it done pretty, but they're getting it done. So that's all that matters. But also as well, of course, Joe Soros here, LakersBall.com as Ox1947. And also as well, I did have to remember or remind them at LakersBall.com that, they were talking about shows and podcasts and stuff like that. And Joe's on one almost every day. Hello. It's the best one out there. It's the Lakers Fast Break. So LakersBall.com and also Simblades with a Y.com. You think they would be more noticeable of that, Joe, since I actually say their name of their site every single time I'm on the air. So you'd think they would be more knowledgeable about that, Joe.
No.
Well, you would think, but I digress. But also as well, of course, want to go ahead and give a big shout out to our members, as I always do. First and foremost, want to go ahead and thank them for being members and part of our membership program, the LFB membership program. Indeed, give a big shout out to Samir, JSJ, Kurt Affair, Darren, Sports Baby, Richard, Bloodhound, and Xbox. And Darren he did have an issue with your Dallas trade, which actually wasn't a Dallas trade. It was just never mind. You got to watch the latest episode to figure that out on the LFB. But yes, big shout out to all of our members. Also as well, if you want to become a member today, you get emojis of us. You also get badges of us when you earn them. Plus also as well, you get great shout outs from us. So start today. It's just $2.99 a month. We'll go ahead and get you started on that. Also as well, we want to make sure we give a big shout out to our friends, Stone Hansen at report_court on Twitter. John Costa, Clutch Talk and Lakers Corner. He is planning shows this week, so want to go ahead and give him a big shout out. Also as well, want to go ahead and make sure we give our good friends, of course, Empire Jeff TV, Lakers in 5, John McCallion channel, and Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. All these great channels, please support, but please, we are still stuck right around 1,800. We actually lost another one the other day, Joe. So we need subscribers. We need more subscribers. I'm so sick and tired of watching all these other channels on YouTube have that nice, pretty plaque you get for 100,000 subscribers. I want one. I'm going to be a little bit selfish here. I've been doing this a long time. I feel I deserve one of those as well, Joe. So.
Yeah, getting 100,000 subs is going to take some serious marketing and algorithm manipulation. We haven't spent a dime on any of that, and it will be a different show when you're catering to 100,000 versus almost 2,000. So be careful what you wish for.
I'll take it. So I would like to I'll put it right behind me. I'll put it right here on the desk. So there you go. It would be great. It would look great on the desk. It's just got nice sheen to it, it seems like, on all those channels. So yeah, I would like one as well. But the only way we can do that is we get more subscribers. Not less subscribers, more subscribers. So please help us out today. by liking, subscribing, following, telling people about us would be awesome as well. So you can get the latest notifications and they can get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Lakers Fast Break podcast. Well, we are a little over 2 weeks away. Did you know? To Lakers training camp. That's going to take place on the first there. Or yes, I already know that they're informally training now, UCLA Health Center. But a frequent visitor each and every day to the UCLA Health Center should be none other than Coach JJ Reddick. So as I will put in the JPEG here in just a second as I update it, because I'm still tweaking it a little bit, and I'm going to do that while Joe talks out there to you. He should be in the office right now, checking out the film, checking out the video, checking out everything that he needs to see, seeing and evaluating the players as they work out informally right now, making sure that he has a plan in place, getting with the assistant coaches as far as what responsibilities, what does JJ Reddick need to do and address first when it comes to Lakers basketball? We're going to go ahead and discuss that today. Maybe it's on the court, maybe it's off the court, but what does he need to focus on the most? And we'll talk about that today on today's program. But again, we couldn't be talking about that without a good friend here. He is the mastermind behind SinBlades, SinBladesWithAY.com, and the site I give so much publicity to, LakersBall.com. It is, of course, a man indeed. It is a man who actually has, you got to lean back a little bit, Joe, so people see below the swoosh, because they see the swoosh. Yeah, there you go. There you go. He is representing Laker colors indeed. It is, of course, Joe Soro. And Joe, great as always to have you here. It's you all can become members through. Yes, sports baby. Yes, you can. But great to have you here, Joe. I want to hear your thoughts, my friend. It is JJ Reddick. It is his job. All the coaching turmoil aside, it is his first time doing this at any major level at all as far as coaching is concerned. He's going to have to put his money where his mouth is, because after all the stuff he said in the past, which we've talked about on the show, we are, I'm going to say this right now, a little skeptical as far as what kind of results we're going to get, but we're keeping an open mind. But what, in your opinion, if you're getting out of whatever's car in the parking lot in El Segundo at the UCLA Health Center and you're heading inside, what are you going to be addressing first?
If I'm JJ Reddick, I'm addressing.
It's tough. I think it's a tough question, because I think there's a lot you have to address.
I'm addressing fundamentals.
Okay, good.
Get back to the fundamentals. Better positioning, better court balance, better rebounding. Making shots and talent are things that have to be kind of already there. And they do have some shooters and they have talent. They are going to need a little bit of grit and some discipline. Before I even get out of the car, I will have had a discussion with Bronny James privately, letting him know that this is how I'm going to coach, and you need to be able to withstand the negatives as well. Looking at LeBron's career, he's never done that. Will he sacrifice the last couple of years of his career to do that? That's going to be the answer we're going to find out here in about a few months. But the number one issue right now that the Lakers have is they don't have enough talent to compete for a title. Therefore, you're going to have to teach guys that aren't as talented as some of the teams out there to win by pure aggressiveness and will. And of course, that starts with fundamental basketball, and that starts with disciplined basketball.
And I will say this, Joe, again, it's fundamentals. I think that's a really good way to do it. But do you think they'll buy in, Joe? Because you've got a lot of players, especially with LeBron, AD, you've got veteran players there that have been there for many years. When you go and hit them up with fundamentals as being the first thing you want to address, the first thing I would come back to, even though I agree with you on that assessment, is trying to communicate that to a core of players who think they know the fundamentals already.
If they come out the gate 3-0, yes, they'll have to listen because it's working. Winning cures almost everything in sports. So if you're asking them to be a certain way and take care of things that players might feel they don't need to do, winning is what will make them do it. And if they don't, then I don't know where JJ Reddick could go to get, I guess, support. It's gonna come down to LeBron James. LeBron James is supposed to be the leader of this team, and he needs to lead by example. If he doesn't lead by example, and LeBron James's game is adaptable to any game except for Russell Westbrook, of course. We learned that already. But his game is kind of discombobulated a little bit in that it's a LeBron centric type offense. It's not a equal opportunity offense like it would be in the triangle. It's not a pick and roll, consistent pick and roll type offense. It's, you could say the ball's moving. You could say the ball moves a little bit here and there. You know, that's kind of every team in the NBA now. But I don't know. The ball can sometimes get stagnant with the Lakers. I shouldn't say sometimes, a lot of times. And then you're playing one-on-one and trying to get the best shot you can, which is terrible basketball. The most effective offense that I saw during the LeBron AD era of the Laker basketball was when they were pushing the ball. When they were pushing the ball, they were electric. No one could keep up with them. No one could deal with them. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that the guys that were playing on this team had the energy and had the talent to do both. Not only run and gun, but also get back on defense and play good individual defense as well as good team defense. And that's it, again, it comes down to the talent. Will this team surprise? Will this team show itself that it was being held back by leadership the last couple of years? Should be the question. Now, I happened to read a article today from CBS Sports, and they've ranked every coach in the NBA from 1 to 30. And take a guess where JJ Reddick was.
I'm assuming it'd be 28 to 30 simply because he has zero experience.
Correct. And he was listed at 30 because he's never coached as an assistant. He's never coached as obviously a head coach. I don't even know if he's ever coached anything other than
the fourth graders was what
the fourth graders. Yeah. So while I don't look at rankings in preseason as any kind of barometer really, but it's JJ Reddick is being put in a situation where he's more likely to lose than win. This probably wasn't the best job to get right out of the gate. I think he would have been better off possibly coaching a team that was young and would be more apt to probably being receptive to his gregarious attitude and delivery. I don't know if LeBron James is ever going to be a guy that's ever going to listen to anyone. LeBron James thinks of himself as a god. And if you think I'm exaggerating, I'm not. LeBron James, I am sure, thinks he's one of the greatest things that's ever happened on the planet. He thinks that way. That's I guarantee it. And it's hard for someone like that to take direction from anyone. So why that's a problem is if he's not on board with JJ Reddick's aggressiveness, abruptness, maybe a surprise scream, during a game in December, January, February, when people are tired and people are fed up or whatever. If LeBron James doesn't listen, then no one will listen. And therefore the team's chemistry will break. That's unfortunately something we have to understand that might happen, because it's happened many a times on a LeBron James team. And LeBron James is playing for his 11th coach in his 22nd season.
It's going to be interesting to see where he turns to first, what areas he addresses initially. But you and I both know, we talk about the lack of talent after player number 5 on this team, the question marks that are there, and what lack of, I guess, for lack of a better term, lack of upgrades in talent, or to help solve some of the problems that you were dealing with last season. Yes, we all could not stand Darvin Ham's coaching and coaching ability and coaching results. We get that. That's why he's no longer with the team. But there are certain avenues of improvement that need to be addressed that you and I have talked about over the course of the summer. Rebounding, obviously with Laker Tom's influence, more shots behind the arc, things of that nature. Defense. Do we have any two-way players outside of AD and then LeBron when he feels like the mood hits him? Are there any other two-way players we have on this team at this present time? Those are questions that need to be answered, because if they're not answered like they weren't last year, we'll have the same results, Joe.
I have an answer for you there. The answer is no. Although Rui could have improved his defense during the offseason, and he could be someone that at least has somewhat decent defense. He's got the size. He's put in the work. Can he handle a little bit of pressure at the basket, in which he did not do very well in the Denver series?
But does he play the majority of his minutes at the 3 or the 4? Because I think that's part of the problem.
Probably the 3, because LeBron has to play the 4 unless he swings over to the point guard position to run and control the tempo and the offense. But then you're going to need guys that can spread out on offense. Can Austin and D'Angelo and Rui continue their good shooting from last year? And that's how that will play out, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if JJ Reddick's offense is going to bring something different to the table.
Because again, we could see a rerun with the same rotation, the same players.
And we've
how do you avoid it?
Well, we don't know. We can't. I don't know if you can't, because LeBron James is going to play LeBron James basketball, which means he's going to be the Peyton Manning of this team. Peyton Manning is a comparison I've used for LeBron for a long time, because Peyton Manning controlled every team he was on. It wasn't a Air Coryell type coach. It wasn't a Bill Walsh type coach. It wasn't Bruce Arians type coach. It wasn't Ben Johnson offensive centric or Kyle Shanahan type coaching. It was Peyton Manning and any guy you want to just put a headset on and be the offensive coordinator. Now, why that's a detriment to, and I say detriment very, very softly, because you can't look at Peyton Manning's career and say it was a failure. However, folks, when you're that great, unfortunately, you have to win a lot. You look at Wilt Chamberlain's career, let's say. He only won 2 championships in 14 seasons. He was too dominant to go 2-4 in the finals. He was too dominant. He should have likely at least won 4 or 5. Peyton Manning won 1 Super Bowl in all those, in 7 MVPs in Indianapolis. 1 Super Bowl. And he probably should have won 3. Denver probably should have won another one in Denver, although he ran into the worst team he could have run into in 2013 with the Seattle Seahawks and the Legion of Boom. But this is Peyton Manning, right? Now, the reason why that happens sometimes, and it's the same reason why when you look back at, let's say, a Dan Marino or a Will Chamberlain, is they're so single player dominant that when it gets down to the important parts of the games, when you really need the team. Folks, remember I told you how basketball is the most individualized team sport, right? It's very individualized because there's only 5 players that can play at a time. However, it's still a team sport. And if you notice, teams like the Jordan teams, teams like the Kobe teams with Phil Jackson, who had an equal opportunity offense, teams like San Antonio, where Popovich had his set, Pat Riley, the way he had his set. When you have a coach or a leader that can devise these things for their stars, now their stars don't have to be burdened with having everything on their shoulders. Because when you do that, it ends up being too much, and you lose a lot of big games when you should. Will LeBron James be able to let JJ Reddick coach? Will JJ Reddick earn that? Does he know what he's doing? Will he adapt? We can't really go into the first couple weeks and say, man, this guy stinks if things don't go right. That's just not being very realistic. But the issue with that also is the Lakers don't have any room to lose at any point during the year. They can't afford an injury. They cannot afford anyone not coming to play game in and game out. And they have to also understand that even though they're not considered a championship contender, everyone is going to give them their A game. And half the year they're on national television. So they're going to be in the spotlight. JJ Reddick is going to be in the spotlight. JJ Reddick as a player was decent, but he was never a money player. And you don't need to be a money player to be a good coach. But at the same time, how do we know? Are we going to find out in preseason a little bit of what's going on? Is it going to be enough? Because you still got to kind of keep your main guys fresh until the regular season starts. Are we going to see a little bit of team-oriented type philosophy, which we haven't really seen ever with LeBron James? It's always been under his control. And his best, you know what's interesting is if LeBron had a team like he had in 2020, let's say, 10 years earlier, I am positive if he doesn't screw it up, he would have won. He would have probably three-peated, maybe even won 4 in a row. But I think the 2020 team was the most perfectly constructed team for a LeBron James team. He won the assist title for a reason, because that right there, his position there, not at the 4, not at the 3, point guard is his actual position where he's at his peak. And it allowed everybody around him to benefit from that, either through shots, either through going to the basket, either into any kind of play that they put together. It's a lot of detail here, and there's a lot of ifs because we don't know what he's going to do because we've never seen anything, and we don't know how LeBron's going to finish this season off. We do know that the team didn't prepare itself this coming year with any significance. They did not go out and get anybody aggressively. They did not draft anyone other than one guy because that's just kind of how the NBA is. You can only draft one or two guys a year.
But hold on, before you say that, he is erroneously leaving out Bronny on purpose. Everyone, just wanted to let you know. So we're only talking Dalton Connect here. So go ahead, Joe. I just want to make sure you did that intentionally.
Do I need to explain?
Oh, I'm sure, because I'm just saying I'm trying to save us all the comments like over the next 24 hours.
Folks,
Like, oh, you forgot Bronny. You forgot Bronny. You forgot Bronny.
I want you to really understand something here, please. When you're an observer of anything, and it's what you do, and not only are you an observer and you watch, because there's plenty of guys that watch sports that don't know anything about sports. They just watch. You're an observer. You've been doing it for a very long time. What happens is you get a feel on top of the fact that you have the knowledge. And in this era of social life, we have created, and it's not just now, it's always been like that. Like if you read the Iliad, let's say, let's use something from 5,000 years ago. You know the story of the Iliad, right, Gerald? Achilles, Hector. Okay, folks, society, cultures like to embellish things to make it grander. This isn't just a social media thing. When people sit there and say, oh, social media destroyed people, that's a lazy way to explain why things aren't going right. And I'm not going to get into that detail, but the point is, we as human beings have been faking and embellishing stories and people's strengths and things since the beginning. And if you're going to continue to be on planet delusional, again, Adam Shine, got to give him props for that because he's the one that said it, that Bronny James is an NBA player, you are no longer of any credibility in basketball. You have no credibility. I'm sorry, you do not. I want you to explain to me something simple. How can a player who cannot play in the amateur ranks play in the hardest league, in my opinion, in sports? Do you have any idea how hard it is to play in the NBA? I don't know physically, but I like to think I'm pretty observant and I can tell. Plus, I've been to several games. You have no idea how athletic, if you've not seen a game live, you have no idea how athletic these guys are and how freakish they are athletically. And if you're going to tell me that someone who's not tall, doesn't have lateral speed or movement, can't stay in front of his guy, and is afraid to get to the basket, is going to be an NBA player, then you need to go evaluate your brain.
Once
and this
again,
whole fiasco, this whole fiasco is exactly that. It's a joke. It's a joke, and I'm curious to see how the schmucks that run this team are going to help JJ Reddick. If JJ Reddick gets to that moment where he has to unleash, will they be the reverse Al Davis and Jerry Jones? For those of you who don't know what the hell that means, is it gonna be LeBron James who goes over the genie and Rob and say, hey, JJ Reddick was mean to me, I want him out, or I'm not gonna listen to this guy? Or is LeBron gonna go on Twitter or X or whatever the hell it's called, and is he gonna put some kind of daisy flower on there, or turning into a rose, or turning into a birds of paradise, like something stupid like that? These are questions you want to ask yourself. Because I don't remember Kobe Bryant doing that. I don't remember Michael Jordan doing anything like that, anything cryptic. You know who used to do things cryptic? Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson
always.
was cryptic, but he was good at it. He wasn't going on Twitter. He'd actually say it on air, on TV, on camera. I'm going to be watching, and I'm going to cheer for the Lakers because I'm a damn Laker fan. But much like important things, what are the important things that you need to do in life is you need to be truthful. Because if you're telling the truth, who's going to get you? What are they going to say? What? If you're worried about people, I don't worry about people. I don't give a damn about what anybody thinks. It's just not in my DNA. But what are you worried about if you're telling the truth? Don't worry about it. Just say it.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. I think Xbox was asking about your shirt. Where'd you get it? Nike store?
I think I might have ordered it a long time ago.
Nike.com or Fanatics?
I think it might have been a fan. I think it was
Fanatics. Okay.
Yes,
Well, Fanatics is like everything now. They're just like
it was
everything.
Before they got famous.
NBA,
I remember
WWE,
I saw them showing up on my Facebook, and I started looking at some gear. And yeah, it's a very comfortable shirt too.
Well, there you go. You can find it. There
I try not to wear these too often because I don't want to ruin them.
Well, it's nice and bright, so that's good.
Yeah, and I thought
held its color well.
I thought, supporting Lakers right now, I think we're getting there right now.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro along with Joe Glassford. Thanks so much for watching this thing. I'm just giving the mods some time off. After everyone had such a big stink the other day, I thought, let's just let cooler heads prevail. I'll run the chat. I'll keep an eye on it for a little while, and we'll just give the mods some time just to enjoy, watch, and interact. They don't have to worry about trying to look at other people on the chat or what's inappropriate, what's not. Just trying to just chill. That's all we're looking at right now. So I thought Joe and I will be running the chat as far as mods on there for a little while. We'll go back to maybe something like that down the road. But for now, let's just letting you guys chill for a while. That relax. Got too hyped up the other day, so just want to make sure everything is cool and hunky-dory right here at the best Lakers chat room that's out there at the Lakers Fast Break. So, Joe, the thing I want to ask you, though, is I was driving today and I was thinking, what if this goes south? And I don't want it to go south in any way possible. But if Alan pointed out in the chat, he has he sees if everything goes right, the Lakers can get to top 6. But as everyone knows, if the Lakers get an injury to one of their top 2 players or both, things go the wrong way, something happens here, something happens there, and it does go south. What would happen if it does, Joe? Rob Pelinka, does he finally get let go? We saw Monty Williams after a very unimpressive first season in Detroit actually, and surprisingly to me, get fired while still having, I believe, 5 years or 6 years left off on his contract, if memory serves, at an amazing, $50+ million. There's lots of money on the table. So with the JJ Reddick experiment, if it doesn't go right this season, could it follow that same path, Joe, if a new regime takes over?
I don't think anything can be done during the year.
Oh, it won't be done. He's got a full year. I think he's got
to wait until the end of the year. It would have to implode to the point where they're starting the year off 5-15 or something, and then never recover. It's not JJ Reddick's fault if the Lakers don't compete this year. You're not, much like it was for Monty Williams. I don't know what they wanted from Monty Williams. And it hurts me to say this because I really like Monty, but I think there was a little bit of an overrated thing going with Monty. I never really thought he was a good coach. I thought he was okay, but going to Detroit, that was a bad move on his part, other than to get money. And that's probably what it was in the end.
I mean, I would not blame him. And I don't blame him. After what he's been through in his personal life, I don't blame him a bit.
And that's the hard part, saying things like this about him. The stuff he's had to deal with is just horrid. It's just devastating. But setting that aside, I just don't think the NBA allows a lot of these coaches to be developmental if they don't have really a good star on there. It's very difficult to coach basic players. It's hard. It's a hard league to coach, and it's gotten worse. And it wasn't that good even 20, 30 years ago. Just look at Shaq. Whenever you look at some of the interviews from back in the day, Brian Hill and was it Gukas when he first came to the Orlando Magic,
Gukas.
right? I mean, Shaq, and even when he was playing with Pat Riley, him and Gary Payton were going off the cuff until finally Pat Riley got so sick and tired of him, he traded him to Phoenix. You have someone like Shaq who in a lot of ways kind of he's not personality-wise, he's not LeBron, but there's this entitlement that those guys had that was a detriment to winning more. I believe LeBron should have at least 2 more championships, and I feel that 2 more championships should have happened, but it didn't because of his style, his style and his mentality. Shaq, without a doubt, should have won in 1995, and they should have won in 2004. He was favored in both finals. If you're Shaquille O'Neal, you got to win those series when you're favored. It's just what it is. And when you don't win those series, when you don't win those games, and then you see the repeated verbal kind of mindset that they would be in, I got injured on company time. I'm gonna take company time, right? Like when you have that type of stuff, or when LeBron is doing, messages and getting everybody fired every other year. This is a detriment to continuity. So here we are. Again, new coach. Just no new players except for a couple guys. And on top of that, when you needed talent and you had a choice in bringing the 55th best player in the draft, you still decided to go and get someone who shouldn't have even been at USC, let alone a Laker team, let alone getting a 3-year guaranteed contract. So why am I supposed to believe that this is going to work? What does believing have anything to do with it? Can you execute? Will there be results from this other than ahs and oohs and hearts on Twitter with a bunch of freaking jackals, a bunch of jackasses just posting stuff because this is happening?
One of the things I did want to ask you again when it comes to JJ Reddick, and we talked about some of the first things you would address if you were heading to work at El Segundo at the UCLA Health Center right now and walking into what you needed to do as you entered your office and what you wanted to work on the most when you first interacted with the team. And you said fundamentals, and fundamentals, can they get you at least a good building block and a foundation of what to work on before you start with plays, before you address weaknesses, things of that nature. But with JJ Reddick, there's so much unproven. Although, again, he does have a wealth of experience on the court as a player. He obviously played under great coaches, Krzyzewski. He did play under other head coaches that, of renown during his time in the league. Maybe he'll be able to draw well from that. But again, we have to see it on the court, Joe. You can say all the things that you want on ABC. You can say all the things about how well and how much you learned from all those coaches you played under when you were a pro and in college, but we still have to see it out on the court. So again, you have health is a factor, talent is a factor, depth is a factor, but also JJ Reddick being able to bring a different mindset to this team and be able to effectively coach this team to a better record, I think is paramount, but I don't know if actually he'll get it done. I have to see it.
The Lakers start the year with a pretty favorable schedule. Granted, they're going on the road early to the Midwest, which I still don't know why they call it the Midwest. It should be more like the Mideast, but I digress. They're starting the first 3 games at home, and after game 1 against Minnesota, they have 2 days off, and then they have a back-to-back, Phoenix versus Sacramento at home. If they start off 2-1 in those first 3 games, then they go to Phoenix and likely go 2-2, let's say, where after that they're going to go to Cleveland, Toronto, Detroit, and Memphis. Can they win 3 out of the 4 games there? Do they come back at 500? 4-4. Then they're playing Philly at home. Then they're playing Toronto at home. Then they're playing Memphis. And then they got to go back out to San Antonio and New Orleans. That's when the things start to kind of get a little crazy, because there's a lot of road games the first month and a half. They have to make another trip to Utah, Minnesota, Miami, Atlanta, come back home to Portland, and then play Sacramento on back-to-back games in Sacramento, which they haven't played well at. The positive in having that kind of a rigorous schedule, very road-heavy schedule, is you're fresh at the beginning. But I don't know if that cancels out the fact that JJ Reddick he's never coached. So is it going to take a month or so for the players to get acclimated? Probably. Which means they may value the wins before really listening to JJ Reddick. See, and that is what the dangerous part is. They will get desperate likely, and just, it's not this. Remember this, guys? This is breaking the triangle. This means Kobe time. If they have to do that continuously during the beginnings of the season because they need to win those games, now JJ Reddick's philosophy or fundamental mindset is gone. It's just going to delay that part. What helps you in those moments, those times, is talent. Case in point, 2008 Boston Celtics. Ray Allen and Paul Pierce were never known as defensive players. Quite the contrary, they were known as terrible defensive players, actually. When they came together in 2008, they won 66 games that year. They never really had a slowdown during the year. That's because they were talented and they were hungry.
So I ask you, Joe, with that in mind, and you've got JJ Reddick again with a tall task, a team that can't tank because we don't have a draft choice. We've got 2 players that are expecting to compete for a championship, yet you have a team and a roster that has been virtually unchanged from the season before, where you had the 9th best record in the Western Conference. Was it 9th? 7, 8. think it's no 8th best record in the Western Conference. So if that's the case, Joe, that's a tall task for anyone, much less a first-year head coach who hasn't had any kind of formal coaching outside of the fourth graders he was coaching.
Factory
a tall
in that.
task, a very tall task.
Factory in that you've only had one team in, let's just say, in my NBA viewing life as a coherent adult or older teenager adult. There's only been one team that's won 4 series in a row on the road, being a road team every series, and that's the Houston Rockets in 1995. So what are the percentages of the Lakers, again, getting a 7 and 8 seed and going all the way? The percentage is very low. The Lakers have to get a top 4 seed. You cannot keep starting every series on the road.
Top 5, I'd say, because it worked out for Dallas last year to get to the finals because they were the 5th
Dallas, that was a fluke. Just like the Lakers going to the Western Conference Finals was a fluke.
Okay.
You cannot look at a Western Conference Final appearance if they're swept. If they had gone 7 against Denver, then you have a different story. And it's likely that Darvin Ham is a good enough coach. But he got outclassed, out-coached, out everything in that series. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that I don't know if a lot of these coaches, God, I don't want to get into this reasoning why. A lot of people in leadership positions where the inmates control the asylum, no matter how tough those guys were or are, they all turn into pumpkins once the crazies are in charge. And that's what Darvin Ham did, because you would think Darvin Ham's this man, right? Grown man, big guy, and guy got shot, for God's sakes, right? You'd think this guy would be a man's man. But when you would listen to him talk, he talked like a wuss. Why do we care? And Laker Nation cares too much about every game. What kind of leader talks like that? Every game matters, especially when you're in a competitive conference. Those 3 or 4 games that you wiped your ass with, that was the difference between home court and playing as a 7th seed and losing to Denver. Does anybody say this? Does anybody talk about things like this? Not really. They're not allowed to. It doesn't seem like they're allowed to. I know Bill Plaschke was always a hater. See, that's the difference between, let's say, someone like us and someone like Bill Plaschke. Bill Plaschke was hating on the Lakers even when they were winning. When you hate on something and they're doing well, you're stupid too. You're an idiot. You're a moron. You compliment and you support when things are well, and when things aren't going well and they're done terribly, not because they're competing and losing, you got to say something then too. Say what you're seeing. And we're not nitpicking. This is what it is. If you don't believe us, look at what we were doing last year at this time. We were very, very excited for the 23 season. I'm sorry, the 24 season. 23-24 season is what I meant. We were excited. Rob had paid everybody. Rob had extended everybody. The Lakers just came off a Western Conference Finals appearance. Hey, let's go to the finals this time. And that's what optimism, that's what sometimes goodness will do to you. You'll start believing certain things because you want it to happen. I'm not there anymore, guys. I'm tired. I'm tired of somewhat hoping at this point. I have to start seeing now. I think we've done enough. 24, 23, 22. 21, notice, I know I wasn't on here a lot in 2021, but I wasn't upset in 2021. They were playing very, very well in the right areas. The problem that year was no one could stay healthy, especially Anthony Davis. They were still number one on defense without Anthony Davis. And then when they won game 3 against Phoenix, I'm like, oh, this team is going all the way, man. They got to run the table. And then AD got hurt. Of course, we're not going to be disappointed in a team at that point. You know, things happen. Hell, I even supported the Russell Westbrook trade, guys. I've tried. Blindly, I've tried. I can't
That's
do
very
it
blindly,
anymore.
Joe.
I can't. I cannot do it anymore, folks. This team, this leadership has not given me any reason anymore to commit to it in a positive way. The Bronny fiasco was kind of the one that broke me.
Really? I would have never known, and
Yes,
all
that
the
one was
shorts I made off it.
You're talking about a team that's lacking talent, and they spend all their time dealing with something that's irrelevant. That to me doesn't look like a team that's focused on winning championships. They're focused on grab-assing, slapping each other's hams, and kissing
Pardon the
babies
pun.
and all that garbage.
Well, the thing is, Joe, what gets me, and people, when they say that, like Alan earlier in the chat said he thinks, and I respect his opinion, that he thinks if everything goes right, that the Lakers could get a top 6 seed, and won the other day, and the others that have that kind of optimism. That's great. I fully encourage that. But to see it from my perspective, again, I see things and evaluate things at an NBA basketball level from what I've seen over the course of decades. And what I've seen is when you are a championship team, it is much more apropos to stand pat and try to just, maybe tweaks around the edges, tweaks around the fringes just to make it even better. But for the most part, stand pat on what worked in order for you to maintain that excellence. If you're a team on the rise, you may want to say, hey, what worked well for us last season. Maybe we shouldn't make any drastic changes and stand pat so that we can continue this rise if we've got a lot of young talent that's on the way up and ready to improve. But then we have the Lakers last year, Joe, which statistically and record-wise, even with LeBron and AD playing over 70 games, even with the Lakers' efficiency behind the three-point line in the top 10 in the league, even with their rate, which we were talking about as far as the pace, they did improve it. They got back to the line a lot more during the second part of the season. They started doing the things that they needed to do. Even with all that, still, if you look at it, had a very mediocre season. A team which, if you spanned it out over the 30 teams, was right there in the middle. They're in purgatory. So the thing you don't want to do, Joe, at least the thing that I've learned over the course of the team, if you have a team that's stuck in purgatory like the Lakers, the last thing you'd want to do is stand pat. They'll tell you in El Segundo, they didn't. They got a new voice and a fresh voice to go ahead and guide this team. That will guide us to a better record. But when all these other teams are making physical rotation changes right around them, all these teams around them, even the teams at the top of the Western Conference, Joe, it just tells me that I am very fearful of this team being just driven on by teams that did make changes in the offseason.
It's going to be good TV either way.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. It could be like a car crash, and we'll be here to report on it.
I'm going to wait till December. I told everyone, I think I've said on this show as well, God help you. God help you if they're 10 and 15 going into December. It's just, it's not going to be I told you so. I don't give two craps about saying I told you so. I want you all to wake up and understand that this is bigger than just Lakers sucking or being good. Stop faking things in your life. This is like a nothing thing. It's sports, it's entertainment. It should matter. Doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But what it does is it puts you in bad habits, though. Oh, I feel like it's going to be good. Okay, good, good, good. It's good to feel good. But what if it's not? How do you fix a problem, folks? You can't hope that you can pay your electric bill. You got to go work and pay for it. Oh, groceries are expensive now. Okay, groceries are expensive. So what are you buying? Oh, I'm buying the basics. I'm buying meat. I'm buying vegetables. Okay. Well, how often do you eat out? Well, we eat out 5 times a week. Well, maybe you might need to cut that down to 2. Then those groceries won't be as expensive. Life isn't about everything's got to be the way you want it to be. People tend to look at every negative without looking at some of the positives. We live in a world now where you can go in your garage, find the rankiest, I don't know, lunch pail with some kind of $6 million man logo on it. And you can put it on OfferUp or Facebook Marketplace, sell it for $10 within 2 minutes. Before, you used to have to call the newspaper and put it in the ad. It's very easy to make money these days. Much easier to make money now than it ever has been.
Richard's comment. Richard, one of our members, said, Gerald and Joe, you guys are negative. Don't you guys see we've done no upgrades, no moves, overpaid, unproven players, gave 1-year contracts options, meaning last year, and gave them all the options to that they could get in this year. And we got Bronny.
Listen, Richard, you don't need to be a dick about
it. For those in our audio audience, he's just Richard's just being facetious. He knows what that's all about. So it's just a lot of concerns we have when you stand pat like the Lakers did and think that you're going to wheel them out there and say everything's going to be A-okay because I don't know.
When you have your owner and your general manager thinking like numbnut fans, that's bad. And it's not just Jeannie and Rob. There's so many ownerships that are bad. The Bidwells in Arizona, the McCaskies in Chicago, Mike Brown in Cincinnati, just abhorrent ownership. People have absolutely no business owning anything. I wouldn't put them in charge of a lemonade stand. And they just happen to be the genetic lottery. They happen to be in a family. They inherited it. So, and of course, we have that with Jeannie Buss, right? And of course, Rob Pelinka, when you talk about nepotism, it's nepotism maybe not by blood, but because he was Kobe's best friend. Apparently, he gets a job being a GM in a time when no one ever, he never been a GM in his life. Lakers seem to like to hire people that have no experience in shit that matters. There was a time you had Bill Sharman, genius, Jerry West, genius, Pat Riley, genius, Dr. Buss, genius, all in the same room. And what's funny is you even had Paul Westhead in there, who was a good coach. He was the worst part of it. Jack McKinney in 1980, he was a great coach. No, he was a very good coach on the cusp. Just really bad luck falling off that bike. For all we know, Jack McKinney would have been the coach all the way through the 80s. To now, fast forward to this. And you know why it's like this, Gerald? Because the schmucks run the asylum. The head schmuck is LeBron James. LeBron James, everyone's talking about how he came to LA so he could have a movie career. Bullshit. He came to LA because he knew he could run the Lakers. You never, ever let a player run a team like the Lakers.
I can't really get on board, Cool Bro, with saying LeBron should retire. I mean, Joe, let's take the LeBron James name out of it. If you had a player at 38 years old, averaging 26, 8, and 7 in the previous season, shooting 42% from behind the arc, would you go up to him and tell him to retire? You can't. Yeah, you shouldn't. It's just, it doesn't make sense. That would be a great season for someone that's 28 years old, much less 38 years old. And I'm not trying to toot LeBron out there to anyone. You know, I know there's always LeBron lovers, LeBron haters, and all that. I'm not trying to get into that conversation. I'm just telling you statistically and what we saw last year. Yes, I know it didn't lead us anywhere ultimately to a championship or even a long run in the playoffs, Joe, but you cannot argue with what he did out in the court in the games that he played. Yes, Darren will tell you all day long about how he didn't play on defense. He took defensive plays off. I get that. And you have to live with that. At the older he gets, he's going to do just even more of that. But still, 26, 8, and 7 on as far as it's concerned is, if we were talking about a 28-year-old player, Joe, we would be talking about him having a great season for the Lakers.
I don't care about statistics. Everybody keeps telling me about these statistics. When people were trying to justify Russell Westbrook's play, they always followed. You always know the morons who don't know how to explain anything. And the sad thing about it was they were ex-NBA players too. But you know they're saying this because they want to get along with everybody, okay? It doesn't freaking matter if LeBron is going 30, 10, and 10. Stats don't win championships. This team needs to compete for a championship, at least compete. If they're getting there and they're close, okay, damn, we lost. Damn it, if this guy had just done this, we'd have those discussions. But we don't even have that. We don't even have that. Because this team is not constructed to win championships. And the league just made it worse. The league has made it worse for teams to win consistently because of these morons all agreed to this horrible collective bargaining agreement where you can't even scratch your ass to acquire anything anymore.
I just said I can't ask LeBron to retire personally because of what he can still do.
It's asking LeBron to retire or not is not the point. The point is, are you here to just have LeBron be your mascot? Or do you want to win championships? Or at least try to win championships?
Now, would I mind him being traded for assets and things of that nature? No, I wouldn't mind. It's a business. It's the NBA. It is what it is. But again, it's just, you know, you saying that you know, he's washed up, he's over the hill, etc. Come on. You know, it is what it is. But again, LeBron, 38, 39, whatever you want to say. It was an outstanding season for an individual at that end, but he does command so much else. It's everything off the court, his salary cap, everything that he does, everything that he sucks up as far as just the sheer space within Lakers culture that I understand as far as people have had enough. And in the case of Darren, in the case of Allen, they've had enough. And I can't say I blame them either on that end. So if you're JJ Reddick, and you've got this 39-year-old player who's very set in his ways, who has achieved, great things on the court, can still do things on the court, but does have obvious deficiencies, as Darren and Allen have pointed out. How do you try to build a winning culture from there?
say this? Kobe retired in 2016. A month after Kobe retired, the Lakers had the second pick in the draft. They chose to draft Lonzo Ball instead of Jaylen Brown. First mistake, right? The next year, you get a chance. I'm sorry, they didn't draft. I'm sorry, they drafted Brandon Ingram, not Lonzo Ball. Brandon Ingram was drafted in 2016 instead of Jaylen Brown. The following year, they drafted Lonzo Ball instead of Jason Tatum. I want you to imagine something, guys. Imagine having Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum on the Lakers. They had it right there. How different would this team have been? And what that tells you is it tells you that this team isn't, they didn't have the right management. They didn't have the right guys scouting. They didn't have the right guys doing anything. They just went by what the public was saying. At that time, they said, oh, the best two players are Ben Simmons and Brandon Ingram. The best players at this point are Markelle Fultz and Lonzo Ball. No one mentioned Jaylen Brown. No one mentioned Jason Tatum.
Corbina says, imagine a lineup of Christie, Vando, LeBron, AD, and if we had kept Caruso all these years. And my answer back would be, because Christie is in your lineup, do I have to imagine it? Because I haven't seen anything from Christie outside of in Summer League last year that would give me any kind of inkling he's going to reach that level of success. I'm hoping I'll be proven wrong, because he'll have the opportunity to do so, Joe.
Not everybody's going to be perfect, and I understand that, but these are bad misses that shouldn't have happened.
But that's one of JJ's first things he's probably been told to address is the Max Christie's, the Dalton Connects, the Austin Reeves, even the Rui Hashimoto's, to try and see if you can squeeze a little bit better play from each of those individuals.
We're going to have to find out what exactly he wants those guys to do that's different. Is Austin Reeves going to handle the ball more? Can he? Has he improved his handles?
Remember when they tried him at point guard? That was not good.
Not enough fast twitch movement for Austin Reeves to be that guy. Is Rui going to be more skilled this year as he worked on his shooting ability, his ability to move into certain spots? Is his basketball IQ improved? Is he watching film? I'd say I hope so on that one. I have been paying attention to Rui, and it looks like he's putting in the work. So we'll see what happens in the regular season. Austin, same situation, other than I'm going by, actually, I haven't heard anything, but I'm going by the fact that he's improved a little bit here and there every year, and I think he's got a chance to do that as well. Max Christie, unfortunately, folks, doesn't have the talent to be a NBA rotational player, and y'all going to see that very soon. Just what it is. D'Angelo probably be the same, which at this point, what else can we do? At least he can play point guard, right? And then LeBron and AD have to stay healthy. There's a lot of ifs, folks. There's so many ifs. And even the ifs didn't do us very well when they went our way last year.
So we'll see what happens, my friend. But again, there's a tall order for JJ Reddick that hopefully he is working on. as he heads into the UCLA Health Center in El Segundo each and every day to figure out what he can do to get this team to a better result this upcoming season, and to do it in your first season. Hopefully he has a plan in mind. One thing I will say is I'm assuming he's going to go in there as prepared as an initial head coach will be. I'm going to give him the benefit of doubt on that, because despite his comments about previous generations of basketball, Joe, I did see his effort and what he did put into as far as his work, not necessarily on the podcasting front, but I'm talking about his work with ABC and ESPN. And there was an attention to detail. I noticed there was things that he did study up on and work on. There was things that I believe he did correctly evaluate when he was an analyst on television, which does require a lot of work and research and analyzation into doing so before you translate that to an audience. So the one thing I will probably give him benefit of doubt is at least going into training camp that's coming up on the 1st, Joe. I believe that he will have a plan of action. He will be prepared. Whether or not it gets executed, obviously remains to be seen.
We're all going to be there to watch.
We will. Whether it's a success for the Lakers or a car crash, we'll be here either way. Which, is always part of the fun here on the show. So,
well, I'm sure there'll be people waiting for us to be wrong.
Ooh, Corbina, Kirk Cousins, a Hall of Famer. I don't know. He's got to prove it in the playoffs. That's the thing. That's the first thing I'd point out. I know what Joe's saying. Automatically, no. I would say he has to have a good playoff.
You put Kirk Cousins in the Hall of Fame, then you might as well just close the Hall of Fame. Sorry.
I do want to say that we will be coming up with an Inside Sports Fantasy Football later this week, and Joe will give out some picks then. But congratulations to Xbox. I guess Joe provided some advice on the Raiders for entertainment purposes only, and he decided to take a chance on it and got
it's very important to understand, folks. It's very important to understand. I know it's hard, but banter and sometimes aggressive banter is part of the show. We just don't want to hear racial garbage.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay? I don't want to hear any racial garbage. I'm so tired of it. I was watching a stream the other day, and it was just nothing but N-bombs and F words, and it's just like, Jesus, these guys are just jackals, just the shit stains of society all around. And these mental midgets, you don't want to be these people, but at the same time, you have to understand there's gonna be some banter that's just not gonna work. As long as it's not racial, as long as anybody's not getting threatened, who cares? Let it go. The mods will handle certain things, and so what? I don't want to be a censoring bug everywhere we go. That's what's killing a lot of things these days. The simplest thing turns into a big thing, and then all of a sudden it becomes this big fiasco.
No worries, Xbox. You're good with us. And I know it got a little rough the other night. And again, to all the former moderators out there, I'm not saying I won't make you moderator again.
Corbina, are you seriously trolling? Like, what's going on here? What do you mean he's Drew Holiday? Where'd you come up with that?
Cool, bro. When you make your team entirely of Rams players, you will live and die off how the Rams will
just go sleep. Please. Just go to bed.
And your AD take, I'm surprised a lot of people aren't angry with you on that.
No one wants to hear about your Rams. Rams suck ass.
Alan, it wasn't a good night, I guess, for the chat. There was some bickering back and forth, and things got a little bit out of line, and it just wasn't handled appropriately. So for now, I'm just, like I said, the moderators giving some time off so they can just watch the show, relax, not have to deal with any stress like that. I'm watching the chat a little bit closer now, and we'll deal with it accordingly. If somebody tries to go over the line or go at another one, just for now, we'll see what happens.
The NFL is it's the most bipolar league week to week. This whole Philly Atlanta tonight, all Saquon, all that needed to be done was Saquon needed to catch that ball out of the backfield. The game would have been over. All of a sudden, it turns into this Philly. What happened in Philadelphia, and is Sirianni now going to get fired? I'm like, dude, this guy dropped the ball. What do you want him to do? You can't make Saquon catch that ball.
Now, Corbina, I got an actually Lakers relevant question I want to go ahead and hit you up with. Any potential you see in Cam Reddish? And before you answer, Joe, I'm just going to again point out Corbina. I've said this story, and I know you've been in the chat when I've said it, in regards to when people were talking about when he was on the Knicks, when he was a bench warmer on the Knicks, would get in, do a couple things, get a slam dunk, and I'd see on Twitter, and all I'd see on Twitter is, man, we want him on the Lakers. We want him on the Lakers. I would see in the chat on this show, man, we got to get Cam Reddish. We got to get Cam Reddish. Unrealized potential, former lottery pick. Man, he's good. He can be really good. We just got to get him in. And then we got him in and just realized where the problems start with him. He did play pretty good on the defensive end for the month of November. As I've said before, he did lead the league in steals in the month of November, but he got injured and it just went off. His offensive game is absolutely just a shell of what he did at Duke. I don't know where his shot has gone, but it's absolutely abysmal. And the fact that he can't even drive without being petrified and just absolutely looking awkward. And Corbina Joe talked about fundamentals. I think if Cam Reddish ever succeeds in the league, he has to go back to the fundamentals, because there's a lot of work there needed. He needs to get with a trainer, a private trainer, work on the fundamentals and start from there, because it's really bad right now. It is really bad. Yeah, LeBron got him to shoot from the corner. See how that worked. Remember the one in Miami where they drew the play up for him, and see how that worked? It didn't. They lost the game. And there you go. Oh, Darren said he hit 5 threes in one game. Can we take a look at the stats? Do you guys remember not seeing and watching him? Do you remember how his drives were to the basket? Come on. Stop making something out of nothing there. You guys want to go ahead and pull stuff out of fantasy. And it's just really disturbing.
It's just some guys are not wired to play 82 plus playoffs. And this team needs guys that do that. Looking at their roster, Cam Reddish isn't that guy. Jackson Hayes isn't that guy. Christian Wood isn't that guy. Max Christie isn't that guy. Jared Vanderbilt's not that guy because he can't stay healthy to save his life. Gabe Vincent, maybe, but we'll see. Who else?
So to give you an idea, Joe.
Maxwell Lewis, Bronny James, these guys are not NBA players.
Now remember, one time during the season, and I will give him credit for this, he was at 10 to 15% from behind the 3-point arc, and he did improve it to 33% overall, Joe. But you look at his overall field goal percentage. I just said his 3-point percentage was at 33%. His overall percentage didn't even hit 40%. It was 39%. So that tells you he didn't do much else for you. No drives to the basket, no real help as far as inside, no being able to go ahead and provide you a mid-range game. It was feast or famine. It was either him hitting a 3 or that's it. And JY says, Gerald, he couldn't make a layup. No 3 and D guys on this team. JY, again, that's what we're saying. There's no two-way players outside of AD. If you don't want to conclude LeBron, or you do want to include LeBron, I'll leave that up to you. But outside of AD, Joe, there's no two-way players on this team right now.
It's hard to find two-way players in general. That's why the 2020 team was so special. Is they had you had 1.5. You had like 3 1.5s, which is good. Plus AD being the two-way, but
We didn't think he was going to play last year, Alan, and look what happened.
It's just there's not enough. The restrictions have not helped. I'd say that's a league decision. The league and the players allowing this setup is just terrible. All for the sake of just money. 60 million a year is not enough for these assholes. They want to make more. They want to make more. They want to make more. And then the same assholes that are making $60 million a year, as soon as they don't get something their way, they start complaining about how the owners are taking advantage of them. They were saying that when they were making 10, 20 million.
Well, again, JJ does have his work cut out for him. I will give him that. But I'm going to say take the benefit of the doubt and say that at least on October the 1st, he will have some things in place. He'll be prepared. He'll go ahead and get into this the best way he can. He'll do his research, and at least he will, on day one, have something that he'll try to accomplish as coach. Whether or not he gets it done or has, the effectiveness to do so remains to be seen. But I do believe he'll put in the effort now so that at least by the 1st, he'll have some measure of action to take, Joe.
Can a coach make that much of a difference against average players in most positions?
Alan, you're not holding my hopes up too high if that's the case. Alan says Vando will decide our fate, Gerald. And he's already hurting. It's not a good way to start the season. You're depending everything on a guy who didn't even average 10 points a game last season.
I don't think anybody's depending on
his offense. I get it, but
I'm not depending on him at anything. You're not available. You're useless. You're as useful as I am. You are. We're not playing. If you're not playing, you're just like us, except you're stealing money. Not literally, but you're making money doing nothing. Availability is a huge talent. Being available.
Well, Xbox, I get that as far as Patty Mills could come back and finish off. I think he has that waiting for him always. Even this might be his last year in the league, Xbox, and I understand that going home and boosting the NBL is a big thing for your country, and obviously that would probably be a good thing for him to do. But to get away from that NBA money and the NBA lifestyle, if you're still trying, if you're in your mid to late 30s, you're still trying to hold on it to as desperately as you can. We see it there throughout the league, Joe. And the thing is, you talked about expansion, how that will dilute the the talent pool even more. It will give some of those mid to late 30s players who might be out of the league another chance, another opportunity to still play in the league. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
I don't care.
Oh, I've heard that Xbox. I've heard he's very popular down under. You're right. But I think he'll be like one of those players that plays well into his 40s. And I think that you're right. He should be helping to promote the NBL. And I think he will get that opportunity to do so. But to chase that NBA money one last time, I think is just too hard to pass up. But you're right. He still will probably get paid a lot when he goes to the NBL. But again, for JJ Reddick, the challenge is out there. Depending on who you ask in our chat and depending on who you ask out there, the challenge is quite big. And for some, they think he can get it done. We want to hear your thoughts in the comments below if you're watching this after the fact, or if you're going ahead and listening to us on every podcast outlet, LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com, let us know your thoughts on JJ Reddick. Can he get the job done? Will the team improve under his auspices sooner rather than later? We're not talking about down the line. I'm not talking about year 2, 3, 4, 5. What will he do, in your opinion, in year 1? So let us know. Let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear it. And great comments from people over the past few days, Joe. After the fact, we've been seeing a lot of great comments. Yes, Rodell too. But we've been seeing great comments in the YouTube comments recently. But anything else that you've been sticking out as far as response to our commenters or response to our chat? Even Rodell, before we head on out?
Nope.
He's still...
We let the results talk. We've exhausted this subject. We'll continue to speak about it because that's the job. But to go into further detail and continue to repeat is just not in the cards anymore. Training camp starts in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. A little over 2 weeks.
Let's see how they play in the preseason. I'll be waiting for the excuses when things aren't working in the preseason. And then I'll wait for the excuses to start again the first week, first 2 weeks, first 3 weeks, first 4 weeks. And then we'll see what happens in December. The true barometer of what's going to happen here is going to be in December. I will be vicious in December if this thing goes the way we've said it's going to go. I'm worse than I've been. I cannot explain how much it doesn't bother me to deal with the heat. Doesn't matter.
Well, the thing is, though, it is kind of perplexing.
And by the way, when I say dropping the hammer, I'm talking viciousness to the leaders of the team.
Well, what if $7,000? If the Lakers are good, we will go ahead and compliment. We'll throw out the flowers. We'll throw out the compliments. But
they're good.
You see our concern.
You have every reason to destroy us on here.
And we'll take it. We'll be here for it. We're not going to run away from it.
Yep.
The thing is, though, it is concerning when you have a team that made very little moves in the offseason, when Christian Coloco and Dalton Connect are your 2 big acquisitions, and your head coach that's coming in there has less experience, Joe, than the G League coach you just hired in Zach Guthrie. That is a concern to me.
I'll tell you right now, this team, if JJ Reddick gets this team to play phenomenal team basketball and are able to team rebounding, and still balance everything, that's how they'll probably play better. Because I think they can still shoot. You still have 2 stars on the team. They will have to rebound. And they will need young guys to cover something for once. But who? You can't expect it from a first-year rookie. We've seen some of these guys that have been on the team. They haven't done anything. It's just, it's got to develop here. Even if Dalton is a hit, he's not going to be. Rookie basketball players in the NBA are extremely rare at being difference makers. Look at Golden State. Look at Miami. Yes, Derek Lively helped Dallas get to the finals, but he wasn't even a starter, folks. And he got exposed in the finals. It's very hard for a rookie to be that guy. And this team has to win championships, folks. It has to win championships with LeBron James and AD. Otherwise, it's wasting time. The longer you stick with this team, the less time you have to actually doing what that schmuck Rob Pelinka was saying during the press conference.
Boston was already back 1 ahead of us, Joe.
That is what is killing me more than anything. And I think that's where Bronny was the backbreaker. the bullshit that went around with that was the backbreaker. But Boston winning the championship did a switch to me. It switched. My anger grew from that because all this time, Lakers won 6 championships since 2020. They were right there. They just won in 2020. They were supposed to win at least 1 or 2 more. All that for what? So that the freaking green turds go up one more time. That means the Lakers have to win 2 more championships to pass them. And when the hell are they going to win those in the next 5 to 10 years?
The thing, though, Alan's saying Rui is a sneaky X factor. He has the body to be good at rebounding. We will see if they can develop him. The only problem is if you're having him at 3 and you're having him guard and space out on the perimeter, chasing threes.
Yeah, Darren.
He can't rebound if he's outside chasing threes, taking threes.
Players who used to play 3-4 years in college came out of college seasoned. But we don't have that anymore.
Well, Dalton Connect is an older player coming out of college. He's a 4-year.
Great. I'm talking about star players, not.
Oh, the star players.
Yeah.
Brunson. Do you consider him a star player?
What are we talking about?
You're talking about a 4-year player. I was just trying to relate a 4-year player that is a star, or I think is a star.
Yeah,
he's a star in New York. That's
he's a star. Yeah, he's a star.
Okay. But you're right. It's the list is not large.
I'm talking about the Hakeems and Patrick Ewings and Shaqs and Karl Malones and
the all-time greats. You're
greats,
saying the all-time greats.
Tim Duncan's, yeah.
Okay, well that's different. Yeah, that's once people recognize that they might see something as an all-time great. Yeah, immediately they're pushed into the draft. So that it's clear. Yeah, rarely do we see like a Nikola Jokic who second round draft choice get to be as great as he is.
$7 grand. Where 11? What are you talking about? 11?
Lakers got 11 in the NBA
and 17 championships. Where'd you get 11 from?
I think he's talking about. Yeah, it's because right now we're still 1 behind the Boston Celtics. So
not still, it just freaking happened.
Well, I'm just basing it off of his numbers right there. We are 1 behind.
Lakers won 5 championships in Minneapolis and then won 12 in LA. First one was in 72. Then they won in 80, 82, 85, 87, 88.
Yeah. He's saying the ones that we won in LA as opposed to the one in, he was trying to separate it. So now I get
they won 12 in LA and they won 5 in Minneapolis.
Yeah. So
they actually won a title in the NBL before they merged with the BAA that ended up turning into the NBA, but that championship doesn't count. They didn't count that championship.
Well, we will see what happens.
Folks, hold on. This is a discussion of what difference does it make if it was in Minneapolis or LA? It's the same franchise. It's the same franchise. The Minneapolis Lakers drafted Elgin Baylor. So are we going to now discredit Elgin Baylor's career because he got drafted by the Minneapolis Lakers? The Minneapolis Lakers had George Mikan. He was the first superstar of basketball. What, we're going to just wipe him off the court because it was in the 50s? Guys, somebody has to start somewhere. George Mikan was the root that started the NBA. They used to put in the marquees, George Mikan, actually it was GEO because it couldn't fit George, Mikan versus the New York Knicks.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but the Dodgers, one of your other favorite teams, they won in Brooklyn, did they not? A World Series title?
Yes, in 1955. Their one championship in 55. And they were in the World Series almost every year. They were just losing to the Yankees most of the time.
So if that's the case, would you consider keeping that as far as the
Yes, it's the
yes.
same franchise. Just because they're in Brooklyn, it doesn't. It's the same franchise. I never understood how. Oh well, they didn't do it in L.A. Well, what, it's the same franchise. It wasn't an expansion team. It wasn't the Baltimore Bullets that won an NBA championship, and then, well, I'm sorry, yeah, the Baltimore. There was a team called the Baltimore Bullets, right? And a lot of people assume that that was a team that turned into the Washington Bullets. No, actually, it was a team that was called the Baltimore Bullets, and then they were defunct. They went under. That is a separation versus later there was a Baltimore Bullets that turned into the Washington
Yes.
Bullets.
But I'm just trying to spell that out for the audience as far as
Yes,
you relating to the
but
Dodgers.
there's this just like anything else, and this is thing that losers who talk loser. This is a prime example. Anytime a hair goes this way, oh, they got to put an asterisk on there. Why? Well, it wasn't exactly 82 games. LeBron James didn't have sideburns here. Dwayne Wade had a missing leg. Oh, that had this asterisk. Like, where do these people come up with this garbage? You think every year is exactly the same? In 1987, the Giants won the Super Bowl. It was a strike-riddled season. Are you not going to give them a Super Bowl now because of that? In 1982, the Washington Redskins won a Super Bowl in a strike-ridden season. Mark Mosley, the kicker, won the MVP. Are you not going to give them the Super Bowl now? Are you not giving Miami the championship in 2012 because they played 66 games? Are you not going to give San Antonio a championship in 99 for playing 50 games? Like, at what point does your bullshit ever stop? Everybody played with the same rules. Seriously, it's so stupid. It's a waste of time, and everybody needs to be called out for being a moron. You're a moron if you don't give the Lakers credit for 5 championships during the 50s. You don't get to choose when championships matter. That is stupid. Oh, well, he won this because there was only this. Well, what do you want him to do? Go back in time and add 8 more teams? The rules were the rules. Your team should have won. And anybody who talks shit about 2020, I would put $1 billion on the table. Any asshole out of the other 29 teams, if they had won the championship in 2020, they'd be sitting there slapping their hams, loving that banner in their arena and saying it's legit. Tell me you wouldn't say it. You'd probably lie just to say no, right? But deep down, you damn well better believe you think it would be legit. So for those of you who don't think the 2020 title matters, suck on this too. Lying sacks of shit. Time wasters and liars. Worst kind of people you can be around. Don't be around those people.
When it comes to the betting lines, Vegas, whatever apps you use, whatever, and then still have the Lakers at 44, 45 wins. I think part of the reason why is because they don't have faith in AD and LeBron or LeBron staying again healthy for an entire season. And also in the case of Vegas, they're trying to get that huge base of LA, individuals that come up almost on a weekend basis to Vegas and try and attract them to go ahead and bet on it. So if that's the case, that pushes the line somewhere else, because when the Lakers, they're usually, as far as any NBA team, that more money is put on the Lakers than anyone else, and they know it in Vegas. And so, yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with the 44 that started out at the 44 and a half wins was really to get a lot of those individuals to really start putting money on the Lakers that believe the Lakers can do better. But I think it's a fair evaluation, Joe. I think it's a fair evaluation that things like that could happen and things could fall out that way. unless JJ Reddick has a plan in place that could prevent that from happening, Joe.
I don't.
Why did who move to LA, Sports Baby?
Why did the Minneapolis Lakers move to LA? Because Minnesota couldn't support the team anymore. As soon as George Mikan retired, the attendance went down, and a lot of teams at that time, much like the Brooklyn Dodgers, much like the New York Giants at the time, the New York baseball Giants, the leagues wanted to start expanding to the West Coast, and that was a good time for them to do it, and they did.
I see the Clippers at around 40 to 42 wins. I don't think you're going to get a healthy season with Kawhi because he's already having the knee issues. Why couldn't it be in a Team USA? And then the George, they got some nice, just like Golden State, they got some nice veterans to pick up some of the slack, but losing George is going to hurt them because when he's healthy, does so much for them in so many different facets of their game. And as far as the Clippers over the years, I think that the George trade will get them. So right now I picked them slightly below the Lakers, but that's just me. I haven't made out my full Western and Eastern conferences or NBA previews that I'm going to be asking the guys here to do in the next few weeks. And I've also got something else I'm working on behind the scenes for the Lakers Fast Break. I'll debut here shortly. So yeah, that's one thing we're working on as far as the previews for the guys out there. So we'll see. Hopefully Joe will take it seriously this time around because he doesn't always do that. But I actually love to see Joe taking it seriously, looking at the landscape of the NBA and projecting out, because he actually, one of his projections, he did get right last season. So, or was it the season before about the Nuggets?
No, I'm not doing that shit.
I think it was the Nuggets. I think there was it was the Nuggets. I think that you were really high on before anyone else. So.
I picked the Nuggets and the Heat in the finals. The only problem was I picked the Heat to win.
Did you? But you picked them to win the championship the year before. Is that not correct? Mm-hmm. Oh, I thought you did. My bad.
No. 2 years ago, I picked them to go to the finals but lose to Miami, but they beat Miami in the finals.
Oh, but you picked the finals. You picked the final setup. So yeah, that's what I was saying. Okay. So
yeah,
the team
stuff is all there, folks. If you look at it, you're never going to be 100%. Professional gamblers are not 100%, folks, but they're damn close. Vegas is not 100%, but they're damn close. You also have a instinct for things, because if you're actually watching shit, you start to develop instincts for things because you pay attention to the little things. That's what happens when you watch and study. You start to get a feel. You understand certain cultures. I mentioned earlier on the show the Bidwells, the McCaskies, the Mike Browns ownership. These guys are garbage owners. I mean, trash. High-class trash owners. It's why they've lost and lose year in, year out. Because they're not equipped to be owning. That they're only successful with these teams is because of the way that the league is set up, the equality of it all. James Dolan never had to be a good owner until he finally smartened up and hired the right people.
Just made $24 million at the Sphere the other night.
At what point, Warren Buffett said after 10, 15, whatever it was, million, like you can buy anything. What's the point?
But he has taken a bath on the Sphere for the most part, UFC aside. Alan, but so much went right in regards to.
There's no such thing as a billionaire taking a bath.
Well, the Sphere was losing money, a lot of money, especially early on. Alan, again, while you say the defenders got hurt, aka Gabe Vincent and Jared Vanderbilt, and you're talking about the coaching with Darvin Ham, which I agree did happen. You're also got to remember, again, you had 70 plus games of health with LeBron and AD. You had 3 players shoot over 40% from behind the arc, and we still had the season we had. And again, no activity relative, outside of Dalton Connect and Christian Coloco for the Lakers. And all the other teams did things to improve their team right around them in the Western Conference, not to mention Memphis getting healthy, not to mention Houston getting 1 year more experience. Those teams are really hungry to get back into the mix. The Clippers are the only team I see in that entire mix taking a step down because of what they lost in Paul George. All the other teams, if they stay healthy, could be a problem and could be ahead of the Lakers on that scale. But again, I'll have to take a closer look and evaluate and see. But yeah, when you do nothing and you're a middle of the road team, that should be a big concern to you, Alan, as a Lakers fan, a very big concern. That means that you're happy with what you have. If you were happy with 47 wins last season and a play and win to get you 7th place in the Western Conference, that to me is unacceptable. Very unacceptable. I don't know about you, Joe, but to me, it's you've got to try harder. You got to do better. Like you said, nothing less than a championship is acceptable to us.
The team wasn't held accountable for that because their numbnut coach didn't value each game. Imagine if he had valued each game. They would have probably won 4 or 5 more games, which would have put them in the top 4. That's the frustrating part about last year. I'm not lying when I say this. If I had heard my head coach and I was the owner say, Laker fans hold on to regular season games too tightly, and then you see the result in the end that those 4 or 5 games that you sat on your stupid ass with your hands in your pockets saying, oh, well, it's not a big deal. Well, you would have been fired. You would have been fired that day. You get the hell out of my head. Get the hell out of here. But then again, I would have never hired Darvin Ham, so it's kind of a useless point.
No, Seven, they didn't lose money out of it. It's one of the largest indoor gates of all time. It does cost a lot, more than almost any other indoor facility on the planet to run an event in the Sphere. So it did cost them a lot of money, but they did make a lot of money in return. So the margin as far as how much profit they made, the UFC and the Sphere, may not be what if they put it in, let's say, I'll say the T-Mobile right down the street or somewhere else, your arena close to you. It might be more profitable if they had ran it there, but the nuance of running it in the Sphere, the experience of running in the Sphere and the production value that it has is unlike anything else in the world right now. So that's the thing. So that's why UFC may not ever run again in the Sphere, even though the gate was so high, is because it just is so expensive to run an event in the Sphere. But again, for JJ Reddick, the task is at hand. Joe, it's been a great hour and almost 50 minutes, my friend. We got everybody to still be civil with each other in the chat. Again, we have not zapped anyone, Darren, at all. Everybody is still welcome back to join us. That was out here the other day, so that's up to them. Maybe they took the day off or having time off, vacation, spending time with loved ones. They can always catch us at a later time. Doesn't always have to be live, but if you do just catch us, we truly appreciate it. But Joe, the task is tall. Hopefully tomorrow I will have Legend to talk more about some interesting training camp intrigue. It's with some of the other teams, and hopefully you could join us for that. But any last thoughts, my friend, before we head on out? No. They're liking the shirt, though. They're liking the shirt. So.
Yeah, if I wasn't working all the time, I'd wear cooler shirts. But
well, nothing wrong with your Simblade shirts. It's advertising, man. It's advertising. There you go. But if you are in the Southern California area and you want your lawn transformed into something much more magical than it is today, please support Joe by heading over to Simblades, simblades.com. And again, remember, if you want to join us, emojis, badges, all the good stuff and more, go ahead and join up today for just $2.99 a month. Get you LFP membership and some gratitude from us. You can like, subscribe. You can always donate and do whatever you want to. We just truly appreciate any support that you give us right here at the Lakers Fast Break. Alan says, boo, Joe shirt. Are you not is that because of the Nike swoosh or the Lakers on it, Alan? I'm assuming it's the Nike swoosh you're booing against. I don't know. Maybe he's a Reebok fan. Under Armour. Vans. Skechers. I don't know. This other shoemaker out there.
I don't wear either one of those.
Joe Engel says the white hair on the side is nice. Joe, they notice so much about us when they see us there.
Trade them for what?
You're not going to get anything.
Snickers bar?
Nobody will give up anything for Cam Reddish right now, Joe. I mean, if you're going to try and dump him, you're going to have to dump him along with maybe a second-round pick.
Cam Reddish.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not even going to talk about that, honestly.
Alan said he was trolling, so okay.
Yeah, I know he was.
All right. Yeah. Well, you want Reddish gone? Join the party. I never
Don't
wanted
worry,
him here
you
in the
don't
first
need
place.
to wish him gone. He's just not going to do shit when he's there, except for
I
maybe
never
1
wanted-
month out of the 6.
Yeah, and I never wanted him here in the first place, but you guys did. You guys were in the chat calling for him. You got him. Now you want him gone, and I'll leave it at that. But once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. If you have any questions, comments, please do so. And you're watching this after facts, you're always welcome to do that right on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or you can go ahead, LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com. Reddish is a sore subject. So funny. This time last year, people were like, oh, I think Cam Reddish could work out. I think he could be good for us. Funny what a year does. But yeah, absolutely. But we'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully, Legend, he said he's going to meet up with us tomorrow. So we'll go ahead and discuss some really good NBA stuff. Don't forget Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Maybe tomorrow, maybe in the week. It's all dependent on what Joe and Chris' schedule will be. Go ahead and talk some football as well. Foosball, as they say. Kathy Bates, who said she's going to be retiring after she's done with her TV show. I was sad to hear that because she's a great actress. But it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro along with me, Joe Glassford. Thanks again for watching and listening. Truly appreciate it. We'll be back. Should be tomorrow. More great stuff as we get closer to training camp. JJ, you better be studying. You better be doing your prep because you're aim for quite a season with the Lakers and quite a season from us analyzing everything that you're doing right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.